Like, how did you leave the corporate world and jump into entrepreneurship, into what you're doing today?
Yeah, so I'd been at Chase Bank doing everything from credit cards, auto loans, student loans, mortgages, but was in the corporate America space for about 10 years. Um, I My wife, Nalika, she's an agent on the team now, but she started off as one of your TCs. And when she started, she'd already told me, about you. You guys have known each other for a while, but you had the podcast going, so I just started following it. And in one of them, you had mentioned you put together the game plan. If you're considering, leaving, this is some things you want to consider, some things you're going to want to do, some things you're going to want to set up financially. I'll get your affairs in order so that way if you transition, it's a little bit more comfortable and you're not as pressured to do so. So I took that to heart, went home, put together my own personal roadmap, got those numbers, figured out what everything looked like, everything that I spent throughout the year. And then just told my wife, hey, next year, this time next year, I'm out. So she'd already considered getting her license, to go ahead and kind of at least have that for educational purposes. We didn't know, at that point, where it was going to, go. But, just, same thing as me getting licensed was, I was like, if you're going to get licensed, I've always, been interested in real estate. I'm going to go ahead and get mine as well. And we'll just see, what happens with that. So I didn't get my license intentionally knowing that I was going to get this job. I'd already started. But then we were at, I believe we were hiking one time. And we were rapping about a possible position that you had and the idea of it, the visions that we had and, what that would kind of look like. And, I'd let you know that, hey, well, actually, coincidentally, I'd already started, the classes to get my license and I was about to start testing. So you're like, man, that's a sign. So what do you think? So went home, talked it over with the wife, but it was already a done deal. I already knew at that point that, it was going to be peace out corporate America and hello real estate. So got everything in order and just, jumped in and hadn't looked back.
So what was it about like the corporate space, because you were there for a decade and I know, when you make those big life decisions, you get a lot of resistance from friends, family, because it wasn't just that you were in the corporate space. I mean, you had a really good job, a good paying job, awesome benefits, like that most people would, dream of having. And they're like, why the hell would you, so like what was going on during that experience of that you just felt internally that you wanted more? Like what was that like?
Right. So it's one of those things where when people tell you that money can't buy happiness, they're right in a sense, but I have a, W-2 that I could show you that to me wasn't worth my happiness. Every day when I went there, I had to log in on a phone and they were just so micro, managing in regards to how long your lunches were, when you were going to lunch, how long your calls were, how many calls did you make and things like that. And not that I didn't mind the numbers, it was the way that they approach it and things like that it was just the mundane feeling of, the everyday grind. And I was over it. So when I started putting that together, I remember numerous coworkers there. I mean, they were more than happy for me. They're like, you're leaving, you're getting out, you're making it alive. But some of them were like, hey, real estate, are you sure? It's pretty hard. Everybody thinks it's, going to be all, checks and smiles, but I know a lot of real estate, agents and they're not doing too much and they're not too happy. And I was like, I already followed you. I knew everything was about systems and processes, having the right roadmap in place. So I told him, hey, you know what? Like one of the things I'd heard you say, thanks for that unsolicited advice, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward with things. I know how I'm going to go ahead and, maneuver with things and make it happen. So I just had that, confidence and faith in myself. But yeah, man, even going to family barbecues and things like that, telling them, what, you're going to leave? What about this or that? And I used to think like a 401k, that was going to be the actual retirement for me. And just my whole just mentality and the way I used to operate versus the way I do now is just completely different. And just knowing that I had that internal confidence in myself and that failure was not an option. It was just in like how I tell people now, it's not a no, it's not right now. I just knew it was all going to come together and work out. So it was just, hey, now or never. I'm not getting any younger. I keep talking about it. It's time to, man up and walk the talk.
So essentially when you have BDNF being secreted, in ample volumes through the brain and the synaptic pathways, you have this enhanced ability to focus. You have a sense of calm. I mean, I think you could probably correlate it to meditation when a person is like deep in that theta wave state where they're, really in tune. They're in line in deep forms of meditation. This is what BDNF is. You probably can make an argument that BDNF is also being released in deep theta waves of meditation. But anyway, the bottom line is the value of fasting is when you have BDNF being stimulated in ample amounts on a regular basis. As Jim just said, the study or the research shows that 4 times a month doing 20-hour fasts are incredibly beneficial and valuable from an autophagy standpoint. Essentially what autophagy is like cellular regeneration. You're getting rid of the old stuff and allowing the body to regenerate and bring in the new. So there's just so many benefits to this. And I think, and this is just my opinion, but I believe that we've kind of backed into this or stumbled onto this with the metabolic blowtorch diet. But the value of our diet versus a normal intermittent fasting diet is again, and this will all be explained in intricate and intimate detail in the book when it's available. And I think the book is going to be available by sometime in late September. We have it's essentially, think of it as alternate fasting days. So we designed this program to work with your unique lifestyle. So depending on how busy you are, your work-life balance, you may only have time to train with weights or do resistance training 3 days a week. You might be somebody who has time to do it 4 days a week. We have, we can tweak it and even give a variant where somebody that does 5, but to keep it more mainstream to apply to everybody in the general population, we're trying to do 3 and 4. But the reality is the more you train your body to fast on a weekly, monthly, day in, day out basis, all these wonderful, you get the production of BDNF and you get the wonderful effects that come with it. And again, the value of our diet is you're not lowering your body's metabolic rate. Almost every single intermittent fasting diet that Jim and I know about in the marketplace, the issue becomes that as you do intermittent fasting long-term, meaning you do it every day, it's hardcore, your body, being an amazing dynamic organism, slows and lowers its thyroid hormone output. It slows down BMR, which is basal metabolic rate, which I already mentioned. And then some other various biological processes just get down-tuned or detuned. So the difference with us is that when you do this alternate fasting day, so again, let's say you choose 4 days a week to weight train. You do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in your normal 7-day schedule. You're fasting on Wednesday, you're fasting on Saturday and Sunday. In that time period, on the days after or before, you're eating higher calories in the form of hopefully clean-burning carbohydrates and essential fatty acids and lean protein, so that your body is not like slowing down its metabolic rate from lowered caloric consumption from fasting all the time. And that's where the fasting diets, lean gains, and a lot of these other ones, there's the warrior diet. There's a lot of these ones out there. They kind of get it wrong because they're advocating, and again, the warrior diet's not a right one because actually he does advocate it right, but they're advocating that you intermittent fast every day. And we're advocating that you only intermittent fast on specific days in the week, and then you increase caloric intake on the days that you train.
Those that are watching, listening to this podcast are here because, they're looking for the motivation, if you will, but also the tactical skill sets to go out there and create the life they know they want and deserve. With that being said, do you have any last words of inspiration or motivation that you'd like to leave them with so they can do exactly that?
Yeah, so I would say anyone that's starting now, it's not any type of entrepreneur, any type of sales job. I think that the key is you have to look at, you have to get in a certain mindset to be, a consistent person. So you have to stay completely consistent, and you got to look at your life and say, okay, everyone in my life, this is my friend, these are my buddies, this is what they do, and look at your whole surrounding and kind of see what you're surrounded by. And sometimes you have to be alone. Maybe all those things are bad. You have to kind of weed out what's kind of weighing you down. You have to figure out where you want to go. And then you have to sometimes say, okay, listen, like this is what I have to do. And, I have to cut this off. I have to stop doing this. I look at my situation, look at their life and like, okay, listen, is there anything good out of this? Like, yes, it's good. Is it like, okay, me, like on a Friday night, is it okay to go out and drink and have fun with your friends? Yeah, that's fine. Anyone can do it, right? But is it going to help me make calls at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning? No, because I want to be fresh on Saturday morning. So you got to look at the little things like that, because all those little things, every Friday you choose to go to sleep early, wake up really early, and you pound the phone. Those little decisions will add up to big decisions, and then big moves. And then when you get, 4 years in, you create a business. So I think it's the little sacrifices and the little changes in your life, you make those changes and you stay consistent to what your vision is, and you're unstoppable. Whatever you're doing, you just have to do that.
Knowing everything you know now today, right? If you could go back and give yourself like 2 pieces of advice, let's say back in 2004, or, right when you graduated college, or whenever that time frame may be that you would want to. But again, knowing everything you know now, if you could go back and give yourself 2 pieces of advice to your younger self that you feel would have really just created this success, like just at a more exponential rate or a faster rate, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
Yeah, I think seek out a mentor, is one thing. And that could be, that could be an official coach if that's your thing. Or it could just be, someone that you come across or that you observe that, has the life that you'd like to mimic, right? Humble yourself enough to know that you don't know everything. Right. And you can benefit from, hearing how other people have done and the mistakes that they've made and stuff like that. That's number one. I'd say the second thing is, know your acquisition criteria. But like I said, I do think about the properties that I didn't buy, back then. I'd say in addition to knowing your acquisition criteria, also know the market really well. I think that back then the market was, in a state where I think we were all afraid, we were seeing the bottom fall out and stuff like that. And it seemed like the world was soon going to stop spinning. But, to a more savvy investor, based on what I know today, right, and now I know how to recognize that type of market, I might have taken, a lot of those 19.6% cash on cash return deals, realizing that, there's a market aspect to this as well. Obviously that doesn't apply today. We're in a very strong seller's market right now. But back then, having that context, I probably would have taken some of those other deals as well. So.